I just truly wonder because I do hear AP's point about policy, but I also wonder how many people, and I'm not going to front, I've been guilty of this too. So I'm pointing one finger at y'all, I'm pointing three back at myself because I've been caught up in a hype as well. Is that as people are looking, I'm not saying you're doing this AP because I don't think you do. I think you thoroughly actually enjoy uh, politics, and I told y'all before I hate it because I don't think either party has either of our best interests at heart, period. So, it is what it is for me. But caught up in just looking at the side that's going to prove or disprove your point, as opposed to really looking at things in its totality as a whole on both. Because I do hear people talking about, what is her policy? What is her stance? What she's saying? But if you look up the information, like it tells you. But then when you argue, like, well, she was for criminal justice reform, but then you'll say, oh, well, when she was a DA, she did da 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 da. Like, my thing is, but if you go back and look deeper into some of that stuff, what was it really looking like? I think a lot of what our research has been very superficial research. Like, we'll see something that is said on Instagram or TikTok, and then we run with it without thoroughly looking at the context of certain things, or the when she's actually, whatever program. I remember hearing something about some kind of program that divergent program or something. But I didn't go back and thoroughly read what the program entailed, how many people were actually impacted, how many Black people were impacted, was there an improvement in a reduction of, criminal, like we don't take the time to do any of that. We'll go and give a superficial argument about that just based on the fact of whether we like her or not. Same thing with Trump. Like, I hear on the opposite end, oh, he's done X, Y, and Z for Black people. He did this, policy with going into the bad neighborhoods and build businesses. But then when I looked up additional information, it was like, yes, that would have been a positive thing, but the outcome didn't really match up with the promises, stuff like that. So when we're doing fact checks and doing deep dives, if we take the time to do it, it goes back to my original statement, is that I don't think either political party has our individual best interest at heart. It's always going to be business first. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The government itself is about business first. And but if you do go back to look at some of this stuff, the questions in a lot of the stuff that people are saying is either intentionally being um, misinformed, and they're regurgitating what they heard, or they are, not really taking the time to look into a lot of the stuff that they're fighting about and doing a deep dive. And like I said, I'm guilty of that because I haven't done a whole lot of deep diving. It has been certain things, like I might hear you say something, AP, and be like, oh, I didn't know about that, and then look up that one thing, but not necessarily look at the historical context, all of that kind of stuff that, like, you enjoy doing. So that's the part that I'm getting frustrated with. And then, a lot of us that are having these conversations, truth be told, have not done the research. We've heard what other people have said, regurgitating what other people said, or have only specifically looked up stuff to prove our personal viewpoint. And I think that's where we're going wrong. We really need to do a deep dive on both and then make our decision based on that, and how what they've done will either impact us directly or our family or us as a community.
I wholly agree with you. You brought up two things, and I just want to let the audience know because I want them to go research this. Because one of the points Mistaken brought up is that oftentimes we look for information to validate our own point or to prove our own point. For example, one of the things that I'm going to reference one of the things Mistaken said, and I want everybody to actually go look into it and go deep dive it. But there's one point where it says that Kamala Harris, as a DA, had one of the highest conviction rates among Black and Hispanic people. But when you dive into that, she had a program, and again, the program escapes me the same way that it escaped Mistaken. She had a program where you plead guilty. You could basically plead out of your sentence and go into this program. You stay clean or whatever it is, as long as it was a nonviolent offense. You stay clean or whatever the stipulations are, and your record is exonerated. That would be a great thing for both Black and brown Americans. However, the problem was a lot of those people would basically fell out in that year, and guess what? You pled guilty. You go to jail. So the onus was on those people, and she gave many of them an opportunity. She most of the time would give women the second opportunity. So, I mean, like you got a deep dive. I'm not going to give you all your information, but go ahead and go look into it. And then Mistaken brought up Trump's program regarding um, um, low, high crime, high crime, high poverty. Uh, um, um, Build back basically is what it is, and it was the opportunity zones. Here's actually what happened. It's a great idea. Basically, we're going to give grants and loans so that people can rebuild these lower communities. Great program done with great intent, right? However, what ended up happening, a lot of Indian and white people bought this property, were able to take advantage of those grants. And I can think of two neighborhoods that are actually pretty close to me that have basically that are in the process of being rebuilt, and they were completely gentrified.
Hmm.
So that's the negative side of that. So if we don't take advantage of it, somebody else will, and they're gonna turn a profit, and that's essentially what has happened. So I recommend everybody that's watching, dive into all of this and you make the informed decision, because right here we just gave two examples of two, in my opinion, very good ideas that could have greatly benefited Black people, and we didn't take advantage, or we failed the system. So let's do the research. Let's find the information, because it's out there. It's all out there. It's all public record, which is my issue with Kamala Harris, is because she won't stand on her own record. Like if somebody came at her and wanted to really go in at her as being a DA, that's a program I would actually highlight. I would highlight because I'm trying to show that that I was working to improve the community, right? But she backpedals away from it. It's insane to me. I don't get it. She's running from some of the good things that she's done, and she's not going to win that way. But anyway, that's all I got.